U12 this way. Could this be the Ultenic U12 vacuum cleaner? You will find out in this video. Stay tuned. There are so many upright vacuums that you could block the Danube with them. The Ultenic also has so many vacuums that they are almost uncountable, and now a new one has arrived. Actually, it's not a big deal because this vacuum cleaner isn't bad, it's not expensive. It's also strong, so I don't think anyone will object to me showing it to you now. So this video seems to be about this, about the U12 Vesla vacuum cleaner. We'll talk about in this episode, I'm going to introduce you to a new vacuum cleaner and start with the specifications. Then I'll talk about the accessories, and of course I'll also talk a bit about my experiences. Well, the vacuum cleaner has a 450 tárgyalati motor working here in this part. 30,000 Pascal, or in other words 30,000 kilopascal suction power. With this, even if this vacuum is not top category. It is absolutely at the top of the middle category. Compared to this, you will see the price will not be too high. But naturally, this is not by accident because this not a premium vacuum cleaner, but rather signifies an entry-level category, despite having absolutely no performance issues. So how can we tell that this is an entry-level category? Well, for example, the quality of the accessories. And here I'm not primarily thinking about the motorized suction head, because actually there's no big problem with this. Another thing is the brush itself, which is a relatively cheap solution. But there are much better and more complex ones available. But it's not bad. What's really good about it is that here, if I open the head and remove the brush, then you can see, maybe hopefully it could be, that there's a comb part in it that serves to make the hair wrap around this brush, not get tangled and be easy to clean. And fortunately, it works extremely well during tests. Absolutely no hair, fur, animal hair and such things that occur around here didn't get tangled in this brush. So I can safely say that this part works perfectly for the vacuum cleaner. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this motorcycle helmet. I think no one can argue with that. Especially because here at the beginning we even find green LEDs which serve to the dust on the floor. Many people say, what's the point of lighting under a cabinet where it's dark? That's not the point, of course. This is not a flashlight. This is for the powdered sugar on the floor in the grazing light. Let's see and notice where the vacuuming was missed and where we need to run the vacuum again. The head contains the usual rubber hose solution, and it can be twisted and bent in all directions, so it can be pushed under the cabinet and under lower furniture too. So I think the head itself is absolutely fine. Thank you. On the other accessories, on this crevice tool and on this head, you can see that we're not talking about a very expensive machine. These aren't bad either, but you can feel from the plastics, the feel and the thickness, that we didn't encounter a high-end machine. Nevertheless, there's not much wrong with these either. I'm just a bit worried that these are the ones the snap-in tabs will break a little faster. So these are not serious things. If you wouldn't buy it because of this, then don't, because the machine itself is fine anyway. Absolutely good. We also have a telescopic suction tool, which is absolutely good. Perhaps the quality of the latch, the quality of these tabs, it's a bit noticeable that it's not top tier, but I continue to say that it's not a crazy idea. Big issue, the length of this suction tube is adequate, made of light, not plastic. I think this part is forever and a day, so you won't have a problem with this. And what usually causes issues with these vacuums are the small connectors that carry the electricity to the motor head. And actually, here, there's no big problem with these either. Where I feel there might be an issue is with the base machine. This is what it looks like. This base machine has a dustbin at the bottom, which is 1 liter. And this 1 liter dustbin is here at the bottom. There's one button you need to press. If we press this, then we can remove this dust container. And here you can see that there are two small contacts at the front of the machine. These are the ones through which electricity can pass. It reaches the tube and it reaches the motorized head. And here is the counterpart to these two spring-loaded contacts, the top of the dust container. And you need to touch these, and in my opinion this is not a very reliable solution because life can get in here. The dust, despite having a HEPA filter here, the dirt can fall out. I think they could have come up with something better. Speaking of the dust container, as I mentioned, this is a 1 liter container that I think it's absolutely good. We don't need much more in these machines. Additionally, we get the 1-button opening. So if you want to empty the dirt from it, then you press this button and the bottom part opens up. These machines typically have multiple HEPA filters, but the U12 Vesla doesn't have too many HEPA filters. The filter, there's only this one in total. This is the single HEPA filter right here at the top. This is how it looks. No need to think of anything complicated, that it has a filter in it. It can be rated as a front or as a back. After all, if it has a filter, it's much cheaper to buy and replace just that one filter when needed. The other thing where you can feel the cheapness is the interior. Cyclone system, actually an air circulation system inside the vacuum cleaners, works by spinning the incoming air. The internal tube structure separates the air with the cube. This machine has one too, but it didn't get a metal filter. On the more expensive machines, there's usually a micro-perforated steel filter in this part. This one doesn't have that. It only has plastic. And inside the plastic, there's a removable part. If we turn it, it can be pulled out. This is what it looks like. Its job is to spin the air and separate the dirt we suck in from the air. It doesn't seem like a very good solution, but luckily I can say that it just doesn't seem like a very good solution. Because in practice it worked absolutely well. So much so that during the tests, even if it vacuumed all kinds of things like rice, cocoa, flour and all sorts of stuff, almost nothing got into the HEPA filter. I was able to check this very easily, as after vacuuming up flour, I knocked the HEPA filter against the table and found no flour on the table, which means that all the heat powder sucked flour got into the container. And the HEPA filter didn't get dirty at all. And of course this means that the separator system itself, it separates the dirt, filters the vacuum dust from the passing air, it works perfectly fine. And most likely this single HEPA filter won't need to be cleaned often. It needs to be replaced frequently. Another interesting thing about this vacuum cleaner is that it has a few unique features. The manufacturer doesn't reveal too much about the battery. Fortunately, there is a label underneath where we can see what we know. The battery, and this label says it is 2500 milliamp hours and 30 volts. So it is relatively powerful at 75 watts. This is the battery, and the manufacturer says so. This will allow for 45 minutes of continuous cleaning. Obviously, this won't mean the highest level, but the lowest level. 45 minutes is not bad at all. And anyway, this is not a full-fledged vacuum cleaner, but a stick vacuum cleaner. And we usually use the stick vacuum cleaner to quickly run through the house. Or after lunch, let's clean up around the dining table. So, nobody expects them to prepare for hours, continuously. Enjoy your meal, if only because the battery is not too big, and in this vacuum cleaner there is no automatic mode due to the cheapness. It has 4 suction levels, you can choose from them. At the second level it already sucks quite strongly. On the top level it can even lift smaller rugs, so I don't think there's an issue with suction power. Obviously at the highest level, the battery life we can expect is more like 10 minutes, not 3-4 hours. Okay, what other interesting things can we find in this machine? Well, I think maybe just the instrument panel. Because in this vacuum cleaner, it doesn't have a normal display, which they usually place at the back, but here they've placed a complete dashboard, which is a bit... It reminds me of a car dashboard, and it's a bit like this. How should I put it delicately? Too much. So I think the designers have gone a bit overboard than necessary. And they put in a display here that is a bit too much for me, to be honest. I'll show it instead. I won't talk for now because the vacuum cleaner noise would drown out the speech. So if we turn it on, you can see it here. This is the if you like it, follow, like or share the video with others too. Enjoy I hope you saw what this looks like. There is a large empty area here. This was also visible. There are LEDs around here, and these LEDs flash in different colors depending on the suction power level. They simply didn't know what to do with this big empty space and had to put something in here, so they put in these LEDs until, let's say, in a promo video, which is also playing behind me. It looks great, but in real life, I think it has no role, because already you can tell from the vacuum cleaner sound what level you're using it on. There's also that little indicator. We are jumping around here, and you can also see it on my level usage. So these LEDs, our role is just a bit too flashy. I don't think it has any other purpose. Besides, you can still see it's charged and the stage. Basically, you can see everything which should be visible, so there's no problem with the display. And you might even like it, so... Well, as usual, tastes and preferences are different. Let's leave it at that. That's it. Of course, I did a test with this machine as well. There was no problem with it. As I said, I try to find materials like vacuuming flour. For medium-sized particles, I used rice. For large particle size, we use soup pearls. Those are, I am talking about 8 mm, 1 centimeter balls. It handles all of these. The vacuum cleaner had absolutely no problem at all. The brush worked well too. Thanks for watching. The rest down to the last crumb, down to the last grain of flour. And as I mentioned, the separation system was also completely perfect, as not a bit of this dirt reached the HEPA filter. At the end of the video, the question remains as usual. Is it worth buying this machine or not? Currently, in a new promotion, the price of this vacuum cleaner with a coupon is 45,000 forints. It's not much, but it's not little either. Similar capabilities have existed. Similar in capability, similar in appearance. A standing vacuum cleaner can be cheaper than this. So if you need a strong but relatively cheap one, and for a mid-range quality vacuum cleaner, the Ultenic U12 is a good choice. I would gladly recommend it to you. I could talk a lot more, but there's actually nothing to talk about. So for this week, the video, I wrapped up the tests. I'll be back next week with more tests. Some pretty interesting stuff has arrived, so subscribe to the channel and come back. Be good until then, and bye.